Hey you, I need your attention, so don't click or scroll off this video unless you're a person that has never been through anything, have the perfect life, and never had to overcome anything. If that's you, I give you permission to click off this video right now because I need to talk to the people that I need to help right now. Like you, I battle with insecurities. I battle with not feeling good about myself. My fitness journey was a little different. Even though I didn't come from weighing 300 or 400 pounds, I was a person that was always naturally thin in the beginning. The reason I'm doing this is because a lot of people think they do not have a voice. I had a lot of people telling me that what I was going through was not a big deal, but to me it was. Growing up, I was told that you gotta be tough and you gotta have thick skin, or people would think that you're soft, so I just pretended like things didn't bother me. Plus, if you know me, you know this is way out of my comfort zone because I'm very private. But I wanna open up today. So now I wanna share my story with y'all, if that's okay. Hopefully it can help you or help someone you know. As a kid growing up in Dalton, right outside of Chicago, in the 90s, I was very small compared to my friends. So I began to look up to larger than life characters like wrestlers. Me and my friends would just act like them. We would act like them, we would do their moves, and we wanted to look like them. Not the fat ones, but the ones with the big muscles. As a kid, I was athletic and I did sports, but being small was a disadvantage. I can remember a time when a coach told me I wasn't good as the other players on the basketball team because I wasn't as big as them. That statement that day had such a negative impact on my life, and I didn't even realize it. I remember as a kid, I would be at home praying to God to make me bigger or taller. It took some time, but I finally began to grow. At 14 years old, I went from 5'2" to 5'4" in a matter of a year. I stayed at this height for about another year, and then I grew some more the next year, going from 5'4" to 5'6" to like 5'7". And then I shot up to 6'1" at about 15, 16 years old. Even though I felt good about the height, I didn't like the fact that I was looking really skinny now. I was not a short kid with baby fat. I was a skinny kid. And now that I'm over 6 feet, it made me look even more skinnier. I became adamant about building muscle. I wanted to change my appearance, so I started looking into men magazines to see what I needed to do to look bigger. I started taking stuff the fitness companies recommended because I'm thinking they do this for a living. They're professionals and these dudes are jacked all year long. So if they talk, I'm going to listen because I wanted my body to change. So I did what they said. I ate all this stuff and I barely got any results. Knowing what I know now, I see how naive I was. There are a lot of factors that play into them looking the way they did. And it ain't bought from a supplement out of a magazine like I was doing. No disrespect or hating, I'm just saying, it is what it is. I always wanted to be a drug-free athlete, so going forward, I knew I had to change the way I was doing things. So now I'm frustrated until I started moving away from that and started studying for myself. I started to get a little older and I knew I would have to start researching what was the best approach for a natural lifter to build muscle and start seeing results for my body type. It took me a while to piece everything together, but I finally did it and I achieved a pretty decent physique in my opinion, drug-free, and I was really happy about it. I would walk in the gym and heads would turn, like for real, like straight up. Something so different for me. For the first time in my life, people was asking me for information on workouts and what have I been doing and what should I do for this. I was writing out different programs for people, for men, for women, for fat loss, and even some athletes and even some parents who had kids that was in sports was all asking me to write out programs. Just as I was feeling high, doubt started to settle in. I started to feel pressure to maintain this way of living. If I lose my shape, people might lose interest in me. Again, I started doubting myself, not knowing my self-worth. One thing I found out was that I really like helping people and giving advice because I was in so many people's shoes before. I could relate to their stories and give advice I wish someone had given me because I always felt less than. And for the first time, I felt accepted and I felt appreciated and not in anyone's shadow. I wanted to keep that momentum going, but I ended up losing my fun with fitness over time. I would start missing out on dinners with family and friends because I needed to eat clean. And at the time, I didn't know what I know now, how to balance it. As I was trying to shake those negative thoughts, I hurt my ankle real bad. And I was thinking like, man, another setback. I was playing basketball and I ended up rolling my ankle and tearing some ligaments in my foot. It was one of the worst feelings I encountered. Once I hurt my ankle, that's when my workout started to change. And it started affecting the way my body was looking. So when life started to get in the way, I didn't notice how I let myself go. The worst fear had happened. I was not in tip-top shape no more. And I started to feel invisible again. Before I knew it, I gained like 40, 50 pounds. No more abs, everything was gone. I still had a little more muscle, but no real definition. Not what I was used to. I was just solid. So I started transitioning into something that I didn't like, and I didn't know how to fix it. On top of that, some personal issues in my life started really affecting me. It was not a good time for me personally. I was struggling. I started thinking about all the negative things that had happened to me prior. And even that conversation with that coach when I was a kid came back to me about not being good enough. The one thing I guess helped me to not totally give up on myself was my daughter. If I didn't mention it before, I have 2 kids and they mean everything to me. For me, it was the first time I ever really experienced unconditional love. Like, my kids mean the world to me. My kids are my air. I need them literally to breathe. No matter how bad something is going, they always find a way to make it brighter. I can recall my daughter saying something to me so powerful, she doesn't even understand what that meant to me about me being a good father. I would always try to stay positive around my kids and not show what was going wrong. Because to them, in their mind, I'm a hero. So I really started to want better for myself and get my act together. I had to tell myself, like, come on, B, man, you better than this. I just didn't know what to do. I just remember waking up out of the bed to a voice one day saying, start living again. I didn't know what this meant, but I just realized I was just existing. I wasn't changing lives. I wasn't making a difference. Because sometimes we could be our worst enemies. We are harder on ourselves than anybody else could ever be. Always quick to tell ourselves what we're doing wrong, but never telling ourselves what we're doing right and what we have overcome. The thing is, once you acknowledge that you're going to make this change, everything seems like it starts to come against you at one time. This is when you have to get super clear and focus on your goals. Understand when you are a man or woman enough to start acknowledging that you want to work on yourself, you are already further ahead than most people. Most people can't be real and they walk around lying like everything is okay, and it's not. We do not live in a perfect world, otherwise this world would be a fantasy where everybody never has an issue and everything is sunshine and rainbows. In this world, you're going to have obstacles. You're going to experience adversity. Who cares what people think about you or feel about you? You have the final say on how your story ends. And you're brave enough right now to deal with it. You will be facing it head on, and notice how other people are still stuck in the past. You can't hold me hostage to what I used to be. I'm greater than that. Because today I choose to be great. And as long as every day I wake up from now on choosing to be great, then great is what I'll be. I used to feel like the story of David or Joseph, for any of you that know a little Bible, meaning I was not the one expected to be great. There are no expectations for me. After a while, you start believing that mess. So when I chose to be great, I made a decision that day to change my mindset around. I'm gonna keep it all the way 100. It didn't happen overnight. Remember, I said it's a process and we do not live in a perfect world. I do not walk around happy all the time because that ain't realistic. Find someone who's perfect, and if you dig a little, I bet you'll find a person that's hiding something. You do not have to be perfect, you just gotta be consistent. As long as you wake up with the mindset to be great, you're better off than where you were yesterday. You gotta trust the process even when you don't see the progress. So that's what I did. I stopped making excuses and got my act together and started training and working out. This was a lot different, being that I'd never been this heavy before. So I found out real quick it was gonna be a process. But I kept at it. I started slimming down and I started feeling good. I started to notice how good I was starting to look because someone was telling me that you need to be on Instagram. And then after a couple people kept saying it, like, I started to take it seriously. Now keep in mind, up until 2015, I never really had a social media account. Probably just a MySpace account, but that really don't count. I was the guy saying I'm never gonna be on social media. My personality, if you know me, is very laid back, and I'm a really private person. But I started seeing these different fitness accounts, and I was like, oh, I could do that. No hate, but I've been doing these things off camera for years. So I started posting, and to my surprise, people started to interact with it, giving me good feedback like, good job, keep it up. The weird thing was, it was people that I didn't know. Sometimes you gotta put yourself out there because your surroundings can become so used to you that it's normal, but you'll be celebrated somewhere else. So even though I was encouraged by that, it wasn't my motivation. This time I was selfish, but in a good way. I was doing it all for me and not for recognition. Sometimes you just gotta do it for you. It felt good, but I still didn't feel fulfilled. That's when the urge to help people that was lying dormant in me started to build. I realized and understand this from both angles. I know what it takes to achieve a body transformation and get your dream physique, and then I understand the mental aspect you need. So I wanted to make an impact and started helping more people. And I honestly got more out of it than my own transformation. So that's what I did. I started helping people. And again, I felt way better about their transformations than I ever did about mine. That's what I want to do with the rest of my life. I want to make a difference, and I want to continue to help people transform their lives and become better versions of themselves. Hopefully this message was able to help somebody, and if you know anybody that probably needs this message, make sure you share it with them.